Now that is a take.
I don't think it's that crazy of a take.
Hello and welcome back to TNN's coverage of the world's 9 best fantasy football players league. I'm your host, back from vacation, and this is what we have for you this week. Week 2 is now behind us, and only 3 teams have managed a perfect 2-0 record. Then he waddled away, the Pumper McNichols, and Mental Brick Walls all will look to keep the winning streak alive this week. On the other end of the spectrum, the league saw one of the lowest scoring affairs in its history last week, as Undefeated Never Lost defeated Curse of the Black Pearl with a whopping 125 points, the lowest ever score for a winner. Here's what they had to say about the matchup.
Miguel Romanello here, defensive coordinator of the historic franchise Undefeated Never Lost. Been asked to comment on the lowest point scoring win of all time against Tom last week. If you don't want to hear me rant, you can skip ahead. The main 2 points that I have are that one, we kind of deserved this win, and motherfucker. I think my neighbor hasn't been taking his trash out. And I've been having fruit fly problems because of it. If you have any ways to deal with that, leave it in the comments below. It got away. My 2 main points are that one, we kind of deserved this win. We were kind of on pace to get a lucky win, and Tom definitely wasn't, and we deserve thanks from the league for actually beating him and not letting him get a lucky win. If you want to do the math, there's about a 1 in 7 chance of getting a lucky win if you're in the bottom 4. I'm not going to show my work. I feel like everybody's smart enough to do that on their own. I'm not your math tutor. I'm also going to send the editing team a little graphic. You can see everybody's record as a bottom 4 team and whether your team has been lucky or not. Pretty much all I want to say is that Tom has been incredibly lucky so far. Do I feel good about the win? Yeah, especially because he actually got a win against us last year in week 3, when Undefeated Never Lost was actually the second highest scoring team that week. So we've been kind of due a win against Tom in this manner. It also feels great because I'm kind of in the hot seat. Actually, Nick Schmidt's GM has all of a sudden decided that he actually really cares about this team. And he wants to win now for some reason, even though our team is just not in the position to do so, which is why we picked up Jimmy G. That wasn't my choice, that was his. So actually getting this win buys me a little bit of time, which I'm really happy about. So Tom, I'm kind of sorry, but I'm not really. Guys, if I wouldn't mind to keep getting...
And now, with the investigative scoop on the Survivor competition, we send it out to our field reporter, Danny Football. Hey, what's up, guys? TNN investigative reporter Danny Football here, doing some great out in the field work this week. We're here with Brett, owner of the Mental Brick Walls, to kind of talk through the much anticipated, very hyped rules for the Survivor competition for the world's 9 best fantasy football players. I think it's going to be a great addition to the league, and excited to talk through some of the details now.
Thanks, Danny Football. I believe that you messed up the intro a little bit, though. That is the owner of the 2-0 Mental Brick Walls.
You got me there.
Yes.
So Brett, kind of just walk me through the basic setup you've got so far. Like, what's the timetable for this? When is this thing going to end?
So, as I'm sure this will be very controversial through our group chat after this, we tried to make it as, well, it was me, tried to make it as most equitable as possible. And unfortunately, I was not able to join the show last week. I was too busy with work. So we are going to have to start it this week, but we will be retroactively awarding immunity for weeks 1 and week 2, which will take place. Now, week 3 where our first elimination will happen, which will bring us down to 11 total participants. And the competition will end on week 14, which is the last week of the regular season, where the remaining 3 teams available will be competing for the Survivor title, the title of Sole Survivor. And I already know that there will be arguments about week 14 being the last week because there are buys that occur that week. And I'm going to go ahead and get out in front of this right now and say that the reason that we're doing this, and I checked with Danny Football, he thought that my reasoning was sound on this, was that we didn't want the first week of the playoffs to be the week that crowns the champion, because presumably we're thinking that at the end, mostly playoff teams will be involved, and then if the winner of Survivor in the first week of the playoffs won, they most likely would be winning their playoff matchup as well, so that would kind of be double jeopardy. So we're trying to keep it separate, end it on the regular season. One other special week, the only other special week that we have, is that after week 10, there will be 4 teams left. Those 4 teams in week 11 will not be competing. They will have the week off. They will be sitting around, sipping on champagne, and enjoying the games. The 8 teams that have been eliminated prior to that in week 11 will have a chance to get back in. That'll just simply be the highest scoring of those 8 teams will be back in after week 11. And then from there, there's 5 left after week 11, 4 left after week 12, 3 left after week 13, and then those 3 remaining teams compete for week 14 for the championship. Now, I think the next thing we have to get into is the immunity rules. I don't know if you want to start to introduce that, Danny Football.
Yeah, I was. I know it's something we've talked a little bit about. Trying to keep it fair, make sure the better teams are still immune, but also, giving people a chance where maybe they're not the powerhouse, they still have the chance to get immunity. I know we've got the wheel, which will be unveiled very shortly, but if you could kind of just talk us through how the different parts of the wheel are going to break down and what people need to do to win immunity week to week.
Yeah. So the wheel is an 8-sided wheel, and trying to make it as fair as possible towards most amount of points. That's going to be where it's heavily skewed. Half of the wheel, 4 of the 8 slices, will go to most amount of points. We have 4 other fun additions that could potentially put someone who was not the highest scorer as immune for the next week. Those 4 are most amount of touchdowns in a start. It has to be in your starting lineup, and that will include passing touchdowns as well. So just most amount of touchdowns in sleeper down the board from starting lineup. I guess if there's any ties, we didn't talk about this, but I think then we'll just go to most amount of points between those 2 teams. That would make the most amount of sense. Highest percentage points started, so rewarding the good managers out there, people that aren't like the owner of Team Mbanik, whoever that might be. We have, in honor of our fearless commissioner and 2-time champion, the TJ Watt Memorial, and that's going to be the most amount of sacks in your starting lineup. Again, most amount of points to tie will break that up. And then the final slice that's different than most points is what we're going to refer to as the wild card, which is going to be the team that had the most amount of points in a loss that game week will be immune. And I guess also that space will get a little bit confusing if someone has been eliminated already that has the most amount of points in a loss. In that case, we will just then respin the wheel. So I'm sure that there will be all sorts of controversy and that this will go terribly wrong, but I'm going to try my best to make sure that that doesn't happen.
And just to be clear, this wheel spinning for immunity, it's going to be every week up until week 11, right?
Yeah, so the week 9 actually technically will be the last week that you can earn immunity. One of the 5 remaining teams in week 10 will be immune from elimination. But then after that, the team that comes back in, there will be 5 left then after week 11. There's no more immunity. It's just least amount of points eliminated. Trying to keep it towards the end of the season. Best team wins. No sorts of fancy business going on.
And how's the payout going to look for this? Is everything goes to the winner? Everyone's $10 buy-in?
I feel like I've decided enough on this aspect. I'm down for a vote as it pertains to this.
Okay.
I think that probably top two would make sense. Some sort of payout for the person who comes in second of the three in that final week 14. But that could just be a good old democratic vote. I'm anticipating some segments in TNN over the course of this season with some angry individuals. So
I'm sure. That is one thing that is almost certain. I think that covers our bases on that. We got wheel spin for immunity every week, lowest points scored, eliminated every week, come back in week 11, just wrap up by week 14.
That's correct. Yep. I'm ready.
All right, Brett. Let's spin that wheel for week 1 immunity.
Okay, and here we go for the first week of immunity. It is still spinning somehow. Danny Football cannot see my screen. I think it is lagging. The anticipation is killing me here.
Yeah.
It appears to be slowing down.
There we go. The wheel knows it's gotta, build dramatic effects for the show.
I think the screen recording is part of the reason why it looks like it is lagging.
That makes sense.
And are we gonna stop? And it has stopped just on the edge, but it is most points for week 1. Most points is the immune from week 1, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that is Timmy.
Yeah. So congratulations to the Pumper McNichols. You guys will be immune for week 3.
Yep. Okay, and we will now commence the wheel spin for immunity from week 2.
Yep. Let's go.
Like the scene in Family Guy when Peter spins the wheel on Price is Right and it just runs away.
I was gonna say it's like Inception, where you never know if it's gonna stop spinning or not.
Yes, that also. It should really be a buzzkill if after all of this most points wins twice in a row.
True. Yeah. I mean, statistically unlikely, I think, right?
Well, I believe Matt has told me that.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting towards the stop. I gotta say, it's very dramatic how slow it goes. And we have a winner. It is most touchdowns in starting lineup.
Wow. All right. That is so congratulations to the Then he waddled away. I'll insert some audio there. A nice audio overlay for it. So congrats to Then He Waddled Away. Immune for week 2, which means they will carry that into it's week 3. Them and Pumper McNichols will be safe this week. Guaranteed a spot next week in the final 11. Yeah, that's all I got. Remember, low score this week. You're done, and we'll be back with another wheel spin next week.
Look forward to it. I'm also happy to answer any questions. I will be doing an interview if required, and can answer to any of my crimes. So hope that everyone puts up a lot of points. And of the 10 teams that can be eliminated, we will see what happens next week.
And now, here is Danny Football with his picks for Week 3. Hey, what's up, guys? The world's 9 best fantasy football players expert, Danny Football here, back with more expert predictions. Last week was a pretty good course correct for me, going 5-1, just missing the ever elusive 6-0 perfect week. Brings my total in the year up to a nice 7-5, so back above 500. My guest, Tom, unfortunately for him, did not fare as well, going 3-3, unable to beat the expert yet again. But now, it's a new week, there's a new guest, and a new chance to beat the expert. So guest, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Brett here, owner of the Mental Brick Walls, off to a blistering start this fine season. I'm sure that the expert can correct me here, but I do believe I beat the expert in the regular season last year.
That's true.
After an abysmal showing week one, or not week one, year one, that resulted in me having to take a bunch of shots of vodka, and something that I don't wish to do again. But as a man of the people, I will put forth and lay down that challenge yet again, that I will take a shot for each of my losses this week. And we pray that it's not 6 of them.
Hey,
I don't think it's a good idea, but I'm ready to lay it back down. The challenge set forth, and hopefully there'll be celebratory 1 or 2 shots after I beat the expert this week and join him again in a following week later this year.
You know, Brett, no one has been able to pull off the perfect 6-0 week yet, but no one has also done the 0-6 week. So there is still a little bit of hope. You know, maybe this will be the week. Someone's got to take 6 shots.
Yeah, that would be something else.
All right, first up we have Bart, Harley, Jarvis, Landry taking on the team formerly known as Curse of the Black Pearl. Defeated, lost. Bart, Harley, Jarvis, Landry favored at 53% in this one. Bart, Harley, Jarvis, Landry remind me to write their name into my script less next time. They've shown some potential this year, and Josh Allen looks really, really good right now, especially fantasy-wise. However, they do have confirmed violent player Mike Evans on their team, so expect him to be shipped off to undefeated, never lost by the end of the week. For defeated, lost, they have actually looked awful this year. They have been the second lowest scoring team in week 1 and the lowest score in week 2. They have not even topped 135 points in either week yet. If they lose this one and do not put up a good effort, I really think it might be time for owner Tom and new consultant Kevin to think about going into a rebuild. They've got some assets there. Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams. Could be worth trading if they start out 0-3. No team that has started 0-3 has ever made the playoffs. That honor goes to undefeated, never lost twice, and too many cooks back in 2020. I don't like this team right now, so I have to go with Bart, Harley, Jarvis, Landry.
Yeah, I like a lot of what you broke down there. I actually don't hate Tom's team all that much. And it seems almost poetic that after changing his name to Defeated Lost, he would pick up the win here. But unfortunately, I don't like the fact that he's playing against Josh Allen with both Dawson Knox, and I'm not sure if Gabe Davis will be back next week, but 2 of his better receiving options that Nooch can be picking up points on those plays. I've got to side also here with Bart, Hartley, Jarvis, Landry. That name is a mouthful. Nooch, you should change it.
Next up, we have the Pumper McNichols versus undefeated, never lost. Pumper McNichols favored at 59% in this one, biggest favorites of the week. Brad, who do you like here?
Yeah, I think they're the biggest favorite for a reason. I think that Timmy is one of the teams to beat here, the Pumper McNichols, in the entire league. Miguel's team has some sort of crazy plan that none of us quite know, and maybe he will prove us all wrong and win multiple championships in a row. But I don't think his team can quite stack up with the top of the league right now, and I've got to go with the Pumper McNichols to win this one.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good read here. Undefeated never lost. They just picked up the luckiest win in league history last week, and I really don't know how much longer that luck will run. They did have a pretty solid showing week one, so I think there's some potential there, but their quarterback situation is just really a mess. Justin Fields, terrible fantasy option. I don't know if the Bears are ever going to let that man throw the ball. For the Pumper McNichols, they had a pretty strong showing coming out in both weeks so far. However, they did do this last year as well. They were the last remaining undefeated team a year ago, and they still missed the playoffs. So, don't know if they're going to be able to keep up the pace. I think a lot depends on their top-line guys like Lamar and Christian McCaffrey. I expect them to have good weeks this week, so I'm going to give them the nod in this one. Next up, we have the SWAT team versus Ham and Throw. SWAT favored here at 52%. This is one of the great rivalries of this league between the commissioner and Visconti. Both teams, they've split the regular season 2 wins apiece, while the SWAT team picked up the sole win where they met in the postseason, really showing that they can win where it counts. I think this Ham and Throw team has something to prove here. They've been a bottom 3 scorer each week so far. And the SWAT team, they also kind of need to prove themselves. They haven't topped 200 points yet this season. So possible championship slump, taking a little bit to get in there. I know the Trey Lance injury is certainly something that's going to be disappointing for this team, who had to rely on Aaron Rodgers going forward, who has been kind of shaky for fantasy football purposes. With that being said, though, I still have to give the edge to the SWAT team. I cannot, in good conscience, pick Ham and Throw.
It's a very fair point. I would be remiss if we were in a game of Ham and Throws to not talk about Stinky Mac Jones and how he is a terrible NFL quarterback.
True.
But I think one of the more underrated aspects of this matchup is that we have Aaron Rodgers playing Tom Brady in both the fantasy matchup and also in real life. I don't think the Buccaneers' offense has been very good, evidenced also by their week one showing against the Dallas Cowboys. I think that they're going to struggle against the Packers this week. I actually will declare that my free money lock of the week. Take the Packers plus the points, whatever it is. I think it's like 2.5. Mike Evans out now this week too. I think the Packers are going to roll, and I think Rodgers will get his in that game. I also I see a lot of points coming on the offensive side for the SWAT team this week. Seemed like the Bears figured out something with the run game on Sunday Night Football. Like David Montgomery, Nick Chubb had a good week. And I think the Niners are going to probably play a little bit better, at least early in the season here with the change at quarterback. So I like the SWAT team here. Obviously, their big loss of T.J. Watt, maybe that'll come back to bite them against a team that is competent, but I don't think that is what Ham and Throw is. So I like the SWAT team here in this matchup as well.
Yeah, as a reminder, Mac Jones, he did make that one throw that one time, so he can't.
Yeah,
be
when they were
terrible,
down what, like 10 points, and Mac Jones. I'll tell you this: that the Patriots are not a bad team. They've got a good defense. They'll maybe even finish above 500. Hell, they might make the playoffs. I almost hope that they do at this point, because for someone who watched Tom Brady his entire life growing up, to think that that team can win a Super Bowl with Mac Jones as their starting quarterback. He's the third best starting quarterback in the NFL from that Alabama team that he was on. Tua is better, and Jalen Hurts is better. Mac Jones is not a top 15 quarterback in the league.
Next up, we have Team M. Vanek versus the Mental Brick Walls. Brick Walls favorite at 56%. Brett, who do you like in this matchup?
Yeah, I think that I've picked against my team every time I've been on this show in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Um, and starting 2-0, it almost seems impossible for me to start 3-0. But I was looking at the schedule a little bit, and even if I start 3-0, I'm probably going to lose the next like 5 weeks after this with who I have to play. So I feel like I can confidently still pick my team, and then we'll fall apart. So it's not like I'm not reverse jinxing myself that way. And in good conscience, I can't pick Team Vanek. That seems like the type of move that makes you lose to the expert. So I'll take the mental brick walls here. I don't love it. Feels like a trap game, but I'm hoping that Russell Wilson could start doing something. I made a lot of moves in the offseason. Nothing has really clicked, but somehow I'm 2-0, and I hate Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick here. The Brick Walls, I'm not afraid to admit, was not a team I was very high on coming into this year, but they've really surprised me so far. They've got 2 wins to start the year, and neither of them were even lucky wins. Much better than teams that have to resort to that cough cough ham and throw. They've been a top 4 scorer each week so far. However, I do have a little bit of concerns there about the sustainability of it. Stephon Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, very good players. I don't think they're going to be putting up 35 points a week consistently. So probably a little bit of regression there. Luckily for them, though, they are playing against a very, very bad team Vanek this week. Their flex players are Kenyon Drake and Melvin Gordon. However, they do have some promising pieces with Drake London there, and the world's 9 best fantasy football players, D-line player of the week, Aiden Hutchinson. Clearly the correct D-line pick in last year's draft. I mean, just, you got to look at the talent there. I know that I've given Team Vanek a lot of grief so far this year, and very rightfully so, because their flex players are absolute garbage. But I think if they made a move, picked up an offensive piece, they could be in a spot to compete. I think Team Vanek knows what it needs to do this week. It needs a win. This is all the signs of a trap game for the Brick Walls. I'm going with Team Vanek in this one.
I think it's a fair pick. I also want to point out that this is just the perfect Kirk Cousins spot to put up like 35 fantasy points against the Lions after what he did on Monday Night Football. So I definitely could see it. I don't have that much faith in the Brick Walls, but got to ride with my guys at least once.
Moving on, we have Then He Waddled Away versus Blood, Sweat, and Beers. Waddle favored in this one at 53%. This is one that I personally really had my eye on. 2 teams that I came into this year really high on. Waddle has looked just incredible so far. I think they cracked top 10 highest scoring this past week. They would have done it in week 1 if they actually checked their lineup. I think that's really going to be the thing to watch out for this year is management going to drag this team down? Is Joe going to set his lineup? For Blood, Sweat, and Beers, I had really high hopes for them coming into this year. They've had kind of a mixed reception so far. I think they really need to get the win here, prove that they can play with the top dogs. I think this one's going to end up being pretty close, but Waddle has just been not even waddling. They're just charging, plowing along. I'm picking them to win this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to side with you on this one as well. I think I don't know if Kamara is gonna play. I think he probably is going to. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm not getting in front of the 3-headed monster of Cooper Kupp, Jalen Waddle, and Micah Parsons, who I just think are just going to continue to put up points. And we'll see. We'll see how this team fares down the stretch, but I do think that we have a clear front runner for the title this year. And you don't beat the expert by picking against teams like that. So I like Then He Waddled Away to win this one as well.
Finally, in our marquee matchup of the week, we have the Tex Arcana Bandits versus Team Big Chungus 22. Brett, who do you like here?
Yeah, I can, as a fan of the show, I can see why the expert is high on the Bandits. I know they're starting to waver on it, but last night with all of his offensive weapons in play, I could see what Grayson's trying to build, and I like it a lot. And they're just due for one of these weeks where both AJ Brown and Justin Jefferson scores 1 billion points. Definitely was unlucky last week with playing against 2 wide receivers who had a great week. I think the Bandits are a good team. I think that they're a playoff team, and I think we're now it's week 3, right?
Week 3.
Okay, so we're 3 weeks in. I think that means that Will has stopped caring about this season for 3 weeks already. So I don't think that Team Big Chungus is really going to offer up much here. I think Fournette's going to get bottled up this week as well against the improved Packers defense, especially if Brady doesn't have many options to throw down the field to. I like the Bandits to bounce back in a big way this week with a big one.
Yeah, I like that pick. This is one marquee matchup for a reason. Both these teams really need to kind of solidify themselves with a win here. And, it is revisiting the battle out in Brooklyn. A little weird now that these teams are in separate cities. We're going to have to see how the fan bases react to that. I'm expecting there to be a little bit of tension this week. Having to travel in for this matchup is just not something that these teams are accustomed to. The Bandits, I really like what they've been doing. They did cost me my perfect week last week. I picked them to win. They lost, ended up 5-1, but they got a lot of really good pieces there. A lot of really young wide receiver talents that I really like. Team Big Chungus 22, not a lot to say about this team. Fans of the show know I have a working theory that Will is not a big fan of the show. So we're going to be running kind of an experiment this season to see when Will watches the show. So Will, if you're watching, just send me a text, Danny Football. I need you to talk more about my team. And as soon as you do, I will do it next week. Don't have too much to say here. Fans of the show know I'm high on the Bandits. And I'm picking the Bandits this week. Well, Brett, thank you so much for being on the show this week. I'm wishing you all the best of luck with your picks. Of course, not as good as me, can't beat the expert. But again, thank you for being on this week.
Thanks for having me. I do want to point out, after making those picks, me and the expert going back and forth, talking a little bit of football, that the expert is putting his record on the line purely based on Team M. Vanek. That's going to be the decider this week. And I look forward to seeing you later in the season when Team M. Vanek lays an egg and is the first team eliminated from Survivor.
Hey, you know what? Team M. Vanek, they may have failed me in the past. I may be incredibly low on this team, but I know how to pick them. Go Team M. Vanek. And thank you, Danny Football and guest Brett, for those great picks. That's all we have for you this time. Be sure to come back next week to see how things shook out. I'm your host, and this has been TNN.